pumpkin. Hello, everyone. Do it yourself gourmet coming in on a Friday evening. Time to cook dinner. We've got a little bit of canned pumpkin and chicken stock going with a bit of water, quart and a half of water, quart of chicken stock, 10 or 12 ounce can of pureed pumpkin, and then we've got half a cup of dehydrated onions, 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, red boat because that stuff's good. And we've got about a half teaspoon of ground white pepper going in there. We're gonna let it boil up and simmer for a bit. I'm gonna hit the mute button, but if anybody wants to watch it cook, then here we are, dinner time live on a Friday, and I'll be back in just a little while to check on it. Hello, everyone. This is the Do It Yourself Gourmet DIY Gourmet Live dinner time on a Friday. I have been figuring this one out, and now we are going to be doing a lot more live broadcasts. So, for anybody that wants to watch, we'll be figuring out the best time. Right now, we're just doing it on a Friday, so in case we mess up, we probably don't get too many people that are wondering what the heck is going on here. And so, little by little, we will work it out. And so, welcome. And I hope anybody that's watching likes to watch food cook because that is exactly what we're doing here. This is the stream of dinner time, and I'm going to start doing that because I got a few asked a few times when I actually do my broadcasting of live and the work that I do, and so I finally figured out how to do it, and here we are. And so we'll see how it goes. If you guys like it, if you guys have questions, this is definitely the time and the place to do it. Right now, we've got a 3-quart, I believe, saucepan, and we've got a 12-ounce can of pureed pumpkin, a quart of chicken stock, about a quart of water, and we've mixed them together on a medium heat. We're going to let that boil with about a half cup of the dried onions and white pepper, a little bit of salt, garlic powder going in later. We're going to get the initial boil going on. So we also got about half a cup of ham, and that's going to be some good salty flavor in there. If you don't happen to like ham, you can add ground beef. You can add potatoes if you like, actually, in the top corner there. I'm not sure if you can see it right off the bat, but right there, we've got the potatoes, and they're going to be put in there a little bit later once things start to cook, and so that'll give them a lot more body and flavor. And we'll do that with some carrots as well. Actually, this might be a good time to get the carrots. And so the carrots, they don't have to be too particularly fancy. You can have the little ends of the carrots that are just the baby carrots, so to speak, and you can toss them right in. Better to put them in when it's a little less hot than a little more hot because carrots like to start off on a cooler temperature and then warm up to a hot temperature. And we got about 20 of those little baby carrots in there. After you get them in, you're going to want to mix them up, and then that will get you some more flavor. Lots of beta carotene going on in dinner this evening. Now we're going to let that sit and cook for a while. So feel free to watch. Enjoy the bubbles as they start to pop up. I'll check back in it every few minutes and we'll see how it goes. Thanks for being here. Oh, and I gotta say, this is pretty fun to do, figuring out all the live stuff. It gets me back to the theater days when I was in college, so thank you. And thank you to everybody watching as we come in here. And this is going to be whether you like just watching food cook or having me check in. I'll probably get better at this as we go. First timer here, so you know, chef plus audio video specialist now, I guess. Next, after this starts a bubbling, we've got the carrots in there, and I'm going to put some corn in as well. When you cook corn inside of a stewy dish, if it's a little bit, if it's not very thick, then you can add the corn in and let it cook and boil a bit. And what that'll do is release some of the cornstarch, and that'll act as an emulsifier and give you a little bit of a thickening going on. Gonna turn the fire up a little bit here, get it going a little faster, and then once it gets boiling, or at least starting to bubble, I'll turn it down a little bit because we don't want to have it heat up too fast. You got to remember, sauce and everything else that you cook has mass, and so when you heat it up in one certain area, you got to either stir it or move that heat around it, so that way the heat goes on the dish nice and evenly. And now you'll be able to see when it starts to bubble. Some places it starts to bubble in the middle, some it starts to bubble on the edges. That usually depends on the size of your pan and also the size of the fire that you're using for the pan, because you got to watch out for those ratios. Otherwise, again, you know, uneven heating turns out to be a really understated problem that when you start to figure out how to do it, works out good in making things better overall. See if we can get this a little closer up in here while I adjust some of the parameters of the stream here. There we go. Sort of, kind of. There, let's see if that does better. I think that'll do it. Alright, so now I'm going to open that can of corn, get it drained off, and get it ready. I'll probably use, solid half the can, depending on how thick you want to get it. For this one, and the size that it's at, about 8 ounces will do just fine. Drained out, it'll usually be about 6 ounces, considering the liquid that they put in it. And again, you know, if you have fresh corn that you've cut off the cob, then rock on. Put it in there. I'm using the canned corn because it tends to be easier for folks on the go and people that are making food for families on a regular basis and don't necessarily have time to do every single step. And that's why we find out the best steps that can make it the easiest and the best in combination. There we go. That was about half the can there. Good 7 ounces. Don't forget to stir it up once you get it in there. Alright, so the stream is staying healthy. I think I figured out the right settings for everything. This is a great start. Okay, cool. Okay, so it is now starting to bubble, getting a little boil. Right there is where we're going to start to want it. We're going to give it about 3 more minutes at the heat level that it's at. And then what we're going to do to cool it down and get it cooking some more is we're going to put the broccoli and the cauliflower inside. And we're going to let that stew up real nicely. And in the end, we're going to mix it, and we're maybe going to add a few final liaisons, something like maybe a little bit of cheese, maybe a little bit of butter. So we'll see how it goes in the end and how it turns out if it needs it. What we're also going to do is find a little bit of herbs and spices. It's almost time to put the garlic in and let it develop flavor. And now we've added a solid tablespoon, tablespoon and a half of the ground garlic powder, and we're going to let that cook for a good bit. We're going to let it bubble, we're going to let it turn over, might even put a lid on it at some point soon. But before we do that, we're going to add in the broccoli and the cauliflower because we're going to have that stew up right inside of it, have all those flavors come together, and have it be joined in with a real great fusion of home style flavor. There we go. We've got the vegetables added in. There is just enough space, and when you calculate volume correctly, it works out nicely. And now it is time for it to cook to a nice, soft consistency. Now, at this point, you can make it as soft as you like. But if you're going to do that, you might consider once it boils from the vegetables having put in there, you do not leave it on a rolling boil for very long. You take it down to a nice medium low and you let it stew slowly. That way, although the vegetables will be soft, they will be less than mushy and they will retain a certain amount of firmness without being too crisp. And this dish, it can go great with a lot of things. It can go great with pastas. It can go great with rice. It can go great with couscous. Heck, just about anything you can put on top of it, in it, or in between it. And truth be told, if you get it with a nice slice of bread on it, or dipped it in a nice slice of bread, that's pretty darn good too, especially at the end when you've got a bowl full and maybe there's a little bit of sauce left. So we're gonna let this cook. It's probably gonna go for about 10, maybe 15 minutes. We're gonna turn it down nice and slow to a low heat. And we're gonna do that right now that it's actually starting to boil. Not completely low so that it doesn't cook at all, but low enough so that there's just a bit of convection moving up and down through the pot and letting the heat circulate. All right, so just a heads up, if I have to end anything early, it's because I'm still figuring out the power on the laptop here. I've got it plugged in. It may still be draining. I'll try and reconnect if so. Yeah, okay. Sorry, folks. Almost lost it there for a second. Got it back on. All right, we've got about 10 minutes more left on the cooking of this good business here. We're stirring it, checking it. One of the ways you can start to tell when it's done, check the carrots. If they poke through nicely, they're the first things to go since you put them in first. Check on that. Give them a little poke with a toothpick or something of the otherwise so that it doesn't scratch any nonstick cookware you might have. And also so that it doesn't cut in half the carrot if it's softer than usual. Okay, the carrot's starting to go through pretty nice and soft. It's got about another 5 minutes on it before we're going to let it sit and start to use the carryover cooking, which is the cooking that happens after we turn off the heat and allow it to finish its job with the heat that remains inside already insulated. Now we're going to add about a quarter of a cup of nutritional yeast and about half a tablespoon of sea salt. And then stir that up, get it mixed in. Okay, now we've got just a few minutes left, and now it is time to add the part that will be really great and we'll starch it up just a little bit. I've got these small potatoes, combination of the yellow potatoes, I believe they call them the Yukon Gold, as well as the red creamers, and I've roasted them in an air fryer with salt ahead of time. So that now all they have to do is heat back up, and they're going to be most excellent and ready to serve. And tonight we're going to serve it over rice. So we're going to let them get nice and hot. Probably turn off the fire fairly soon. And that carryover cooking will sink right in and make those potatoes just right. And you might say to yourself, that's a pretty full pot you got there, do-it-yourself gourmet. And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. But as it cooks, it will reduce a little bit. And by the time it cools down to where we're going to use it, it'll be just where I need it. And I'll tell you, that's a good thing that I studied my math, because sometimes the volume gets a little close. There we go. I turned off the overhead light. That way we can see the pot a little bit more clearly, to know when it's bubbling, to see what the color of the sauce inside of there should look like. And there we go. We've got it turned off. Now this is going to need another 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5, heating up those potatoes, doing the carryover cooking. But once that's all done, then you can spoon this onto the rice, or whatever you prefer, some nice good cooked pasta. You know, if you really wanted to be about it, if you had extra room in the pan, if you were making this in a larger sauce pot, then you could actually cook some of the rice with it. Rice that's already been cooked, you can put that in at the end, and that'll soak it up something wonderful. Do it yourself gourmet, folks. We're going to let this run a couple more minutes, and then we'll sign off. All right, folks, we're going to call it right there. I'd like to thank you all for watching, joining the DIY Gourmet. We'll make a highlights reel of this and probably do a little bit of posting on the community tab, where we get to post the actual pictures of the product at the end. So, until then, we'll see you next time.